So from the beginning, you guys go to quickbase.com and then you sign in. We're gonna sign in as both a lender and a program intermediary so that both groups can see how the application works in response to one another. So this is when you're signed in as a PI, and you go and you click the little RRR icon. And one thing that we wanted to make you aware of is right now in the early adopter period, all of the entities can see how many clients each other are working with. We're working on eliminating the access to that data so that when you log in here, you will only be able to see a list of your clients. We just haven't been able to kind of implement that change quite yet. That said, you still will be able to search the client addresses over here, which will enable you to figure out whether someone has worked with a different PI, in which case you probably won't want to proceed with that client unless they're going through like the formal switch process that we talked about when we had our long process meetings. So right now Nick is going to demo searching for a client. So let's say someone from 1602, is that what it is? Spring Garden comes in to clarify. You would be able to search that address and see that that individual is actually working with a different PI. If they do not want to continue working with the PI who they have begun the process with, they can submit a change. You can submit a change request with this red button, and PRA, program management staff, will be alerted, and we can kind of discuss the particularities of the situation and decide whether that makes sense. Or you can kind of tell the client you should continue working with the PI who you're working with, and we'll figure that out on a case-by-case basis. But just so you know, this is what it looks like if a client comes in who is already working with a different PI. Okay, but assuming that that isn't the case, we are going to add a new file because the PI has figured out that the individual is not yet in the system. This is the kind of form that you see. And we're going to run through a test case. So we're going to assume right now that a client has verbally indicated to one of the PIs that they've agreed to data sharing, but has not yet filled out the disclosure form. But you can see at the top left part of the screen that you can upload the disclosure form as kind of a document. And before a client moves on to work with a lender, the top box that says primary clients have signed disclosure form does need to be checked. So that is a block on an individual moving forward. We received a question about whether or not the PI indicator right here, this drop down, can automatically populate when a PI logs into QuickBase, so that it would eliminate the need for your staff to choose from this drop down. That's something that we're looking into, and we think it's probably likely that we can do it.
Yeah, it's tied in with the ability to like filter the grid. So once I figure that out, this should be easy too.
So just so you guys know, that's on our radar. Okay, and then we move down here to searching for a client address. Now this, Jill, does standardize the addresses so that hopefully we won't run into the issue that you raised earlier where the street name or kind of something about the address is inputted incorrectly. I think though that you can override this.
Okay, yeah.
So if you decided that you wanted to like put in a W instead of West here, you could do that. But if you decided to go with the autofill that is kind of a standardized version of the address, we are unlikely to run into the situation where we have very similar duplicates.
Right.
So if you, for some reason on the, you say you don't search for the client, right? And you just put the client address in here, going along, thinking you're okie dokie, and you use the pre-fill that comes in, will it then bring up this person's already in the system at this screen?
Yeah, so like for example, that 1602 that I searched on, when I put
Can you put it up on client address? Can you put it up with the pre-fill one?
Oh, sure.
Wherever, so that's my question. Yeah.
So if you do that.
Right. Yep.
Pittsburgh.
Oh, whoops. Didn't know there was one of those in Pittsburgh as well.
There's also London, Ohio.
Right. So when you enter a duplicate, you'll be notified, and it actually prevents you from saving the record until you enter a unique address, a unique within the database.
Cool.
Okay. That's great. That's helpful. Thanks. I just didn't, because, you know, I was trying to test it I was trying to find the bug, if you will, because that's what I do. But that's great to know. Just that it's, well, you know, I didn't have a lot of time, so I didn't do this one. But thanks. That's great.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So we added the address in here. This is now we're at kind of the client's information table. So we're going to hit this add client button. It prompts you to save, which is good. Okay. So our client is named Mary Roberts. They were born on March 7th of 1991. They're going to be the primary contact. They're on the deed. They wish to be the borrower, and the property is their primary residence. We're not going to go through this right now, but we think that you would likely want to put in their phone number and their email address, especially if they are the primary contact. And then in regards to the demographic information, we decided collaboratively that all of these are optional fields, though I think that marital status you would likely want to indicate on here for kind of income and tax reasons, but okay. So the credit score for Mary, it was pulled today or yesterday, and they have a 590, which is good. Their income, their monthly take-home income is $2,500. Their debts, they pay $900 a month for their mortgage, and that's all that they have. Now we're going to put in their partner, David Smith. Okay, so now we're with the second borrower. They're on the deed. They wish to be a borrower, and the property is their primary residence. Again, you'll want to collect all of this other pertinent information right here. Their credit score is 600. Their income is 2,500. And their debts are, they have $400 in student loans. They have a $200 car payment and $125 in credit card debt. And now we're going to add one more individual who's a dependent. this is their kid. It's their primary residence, but they're a child, so they don't have a credit score yet or income or debts.
Excuse me, Jill. So we have to list all the members of the household, even if they are children under the age of 18?
Yes, because the members of the household are necessary for the QuickBase application to calculate area median income. So Nick,
Okay.
mind scrolling down a bit, we can already see down here that the AMI for a family of 3 at a $5,000 monthly income is 76%. And
Okay, cool.
their self-reported debt-to-income ratio, which may or may not be 100% accurate, is a ballpark 32%. So
Okay, thank you.
yeah, when you fill in that client information, it automatically kind of tells you where they're at in terms of these two indicators.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you.
Yep. So now we're going to add one non-client individual on the deed. So again, you all will remember from our very detailed long meetings together that there may be instances where folks who do not live in the property are on the deed. So for this example, we assumed that the property was inherited by Mary from her father. And you would want to collect that information as much as you can at this point. And what we assumed that the pertinent information would be for non-resident individuals on deed is just basically the relationship to the applicants in addition to their contact information. So that's what we're collecting right here in case we run into any tangle title issues. Okay, and so now we are moving into the other program eligibility criteria. So we included links about the properties. So when you guys kind of click those, it takes you to the public property, not public property. This is the, what is this exactly?
Property.phila.gov.
Yes, our property.phila.gov. And you can see the OPA number right here, which Jill, if we continue to run into address information, perhaps we can figure out how to use that as a way to make sure we're not we don't duplicate addresses. And then
Do you want to talk about the tax?
you should do it.
Okay, sure. So property.phila.gov has tax balance information available through this view tax balance link. However, it's a little bit of an older site, so it doesn't take you there's no way to take you directly to the property from property.phila.gov. What you can do though is grab this OPA account number, copy it, and then when you open the view, the tax balance site, paste that into the BRT number here. And once that loads, it will give you the tax information for that property. So that's something that's kind of out of our control, but we have a workaround for it.
Okay, and then let's go to Atlas. So on Atlas, you can look at property information again, look at the deeds, deed information, and then you keep going down. Let's see what is under LNI. You can see if there are any open violations that have been kind of recorded by LNI. Okay, and so now we have the other program eligibility criteria. So we're going to assume that these folks have homeowners insurance. We just saw that they are current in city taxes. We also saw that there were no open LNI violations. And because we know that the father of the woman living in the house We have their contact information, and we have no reason not to assume that they will sign off on all of the necessary loan documents. We're going to assume that there are not currently tangle title issues. They did indicate that they have a mortgage, so they have one lien. One lien would be ahead of this loan if they wind up moving forward and being approved by the bank. At this time, they seem pretty much ready to go to the lender, but they cannot go unless they have signed the disclosure form. So we would click yes, and then also we would have to go up and upload it at this time if they did not turn it in the very beginning. And then you can kind of set the status here as eligible, which changes the status at the top, because before it was in process.
Right.
I think.
Right.
So now we're going to save and keep working, but we're going to switch to the lender's view. So now the client kind of had all of their information pulled together and met the basic eligibility criteria and was sent to the lender. So now the lender would search for the address, or will perhaps change it so that they can also search for the name. And then the client file will pop up and they hit edit. And here you can see at the top that according to the PI who they've been working with, they've met the program eligibility. If they have not met the program eligibility and they were moved kind of forward, or they got the information from the flyer to go to a lender, the lender will be able to see here if the PI has indicated that they, for example, have not gotten homeowners insurance, or that they do have tangle title issues. Whatever those basic eligibility criteria that have not been met are, will be listed in this area. So then we pick which lender we are. Again, if we can solve the issue with the PIs where it automatically kind of indicates which entity you're from, that will pertain to the lenders as well. And so they work with the lender for a couple of days, and we're going to assume that this family was pre-qualified on the 14th of December for the maximum loan amount, which is $24,999. And so now the lender would save this, and the homeowner would go back to the PI. And if we scroll down, we can see in here that this is from the PI's perspective, that the lender, Finanta, pre-qualified this individual at $24,999 on the 14th of December. And so now the PI is all ready to schedule a home assessment with the client. What is the date we put for that? So we're assuming it takes a couple weeks, and on the 3rd of January, the PI schedules a home assessment. And so in here, what we did was we turned the minimum home quality standards into a checklist. And for this family, we're going to assume that when the PI went into the house, they saw some very, very clear leaks on the roof, but it doesn't actually look like it's a structural issue. They just need to patch or significantly repair the roof. And also on the second floor, there is not a window that opens, and they also want to replace some windows anyway. Can you click through the other ones just so folks can see? So these are structural issues. If there are kind of ceiling defects, we have the building envelope, which are windows and doors, finishes in the bathroom, kitchen, and then these are kind of other repairs that didn't fit into any of those buckets. So we're going to save and close. And so now in the minimum home quality standards, we have a list of issues that were flagged by the PI. And now we're going to go in and assume that the PI and homeowner have found a contractor that they want to work with and have gotten quotes. You can see at the top that there's the list of minimum home issues that are clearly indicated. In addition, if there are minimum home standards that have not been met, they are flagged as red, and you cannot save this sheet and you get like a prompt without putting a value for how much those repairs are going to cost. So we assumed that the roof issues are about $3,000. They want to put more windows in than just one, so it wound up being $2,000. They also wanted to do some stuff to their bathroom, so it's $500 for plumbing fixtures, $500 for a toilet. Their shower and bathtub are messed up, so that's another $600. And then they wanted to do some other finishes. So we're going to save and close. And we can see here for each of the kind of buckets how much it is going to cost. We're also going to add a grand total onto the end of this so that you can see that for each of these areas, the total work is going to cost $7,400. All right, so now they have a agreement or a contract with the contractor, and they're ready to go back to the bank to do a formal loan application on the 2nd of February. The lender is going to pull their credit. We have one at, no, that's right. 580. We have another second person, 590. Their total annual income is $62,000. Their DTI is 34%. Their home is valued at $185,000 with their existing mortgage. In addition to this loan, the LTV will be 85%. No, oh yeah, and then they're approved for $8,880, which includes the contingency necessary to make sure that should there be any change orders or anything, that there's enough money to cover that. So now, if there are any issues with the work scope that was originally kind of put in, the lender can make a change right here and indicate the amount of a change order should there be kind of any difference between the initial contract and the cost of the work that was carried out. So we don't actually add any, but that's an option. Okay, so I think we can continue moving along. So now these individuals have been approved for the loan. They get a pre-construction inspection on the 25th of February. Loan closing is carried out on the 18th. The lien is recorded a couple days later. And the final loan amount is $8,880. And then the final inspection date would be on the 18th of March. And then the term out date would happen after the final inspection. So that could be on, let's just do the 24th of March. After that, you make it Univest and Finanta make it available for us to wire you funds. We then pay you shortly thereafter. So we can say the 30th, or yeah, 4/1. And the loan is assigned to us, I think, after you receive payment from us.
Mm-hmm.
The second.
Okay.
And then down here, you guys can upload all of the pertinent loan and mortgage information. These are fields that the PI will not be able to see except for the closing date, which is important for the PIs to be able to know about, because that's what triggers payment to the PI. And then down here, the lenders can indicate whether or not the important documents have been mailed to the trustee and or to us. And so that is the whole process. We're happy to answer any questions, and we don't have tons of time left.
Yes.
But we can also stay
If I
on the
may.
line, I think, a little bit longer.
You showed a couple of websites. One was the Atlas website, and I couldn't remember what the other one was for to figure out the well, the Atlas website for the L&I violations. The property value website with the BRT number. What is that website again?
So there's, with the BRT number and the tax assessments, that's through property.phila.gov.
Okay, wait a minute. Property.phila.gov.
Correct.
Okay, and the Atlas is what?
Atlas would be more general information about the property, I think. They do have assessments on there also. There's just two different presentations of data for the property.
Right, but the Atlas is for mostly for to get the L&I information, right?
That's right. Yeah, they do have L&I up there. Yeah, that would probably be the most useful for this application, is the assessment.
For the L&I.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so the property one gives us the BRT number and gives us an idea of the property value.
Right.
The Atlas gives us information about the L&I violations, if any.
Correct.
Okay, I'm good.
All right.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Yeah, Jane, this is Jill. Originally, I think I talked to you, but maybe not, about what is the opportunity to meld these, the QuickBase to export into a client management system. Because I think that each of the PIs may have a different client management system and maybe collecting other information beyond what is required for QuickBase. And it would be great not to be doing duplicate entry or export, if you will, from their client management system.
Hey, Jill. So QuickBase does have the API capability built into it. And so I kind of like wrote up a quick query to pull out information for the PIs. So if you want me to send that query along to you or your technical staff so that they could utilize that within their applications to sync up with the CMS that you have, that would definitely be the best option, I would think.
Oh, okay. Can you send that to me and to Brandon, please? Because I know that you'll send it to me and it will mean absolutely next to nothing. And I appreciate that because I don't understand this, whatever that thing was you said it is.
Yeah, Sure, no problem. Was Brandon, he was copied on one of the emails, right, from you? I think he was.
Yeah, he was on it. He may be on the line right now, but I kind of screwed up because he wasn't on the invite for this web thing, so he may not have gotten in.
Yeah, I will send that along to you guys for sure.
Yeah, that'd be great. And then maybe you and he can speak back and forth just to avoid that duplication of entry. Thanks so much.
Yeah. Yep. Of course.
I guess since no one else has a question, can I ask a question about the reports page, Jane?
Mm-hmm.
Like what there, I feel like there was somewhere I thought like reports and charts. Are there built-in reports that we can pull down? There we go.
Yeah, I'm gonna clean these up. But
thanks.
This is where the reports are going to live when we do get to the point where we're designing more custom and specific reports for different entities. As it stands right now, the only ones I have to clean this up because the only ones you guys are going to see at this point would be the like list all, and that's actually the one we're looking at now. This one. But yeah, this really brief report. What we want to do though, once we filter out the other PIs from your window, is have a report that looks more like, I believe this, which is just all of the information related to that client file, or several client files, and then you'll have the ability to filter it in up to 5 different ways so that we can talk about what the most useful filters for you would be.
We can also roll these up into so that you can see the number of closed loans, so that you can see like how many people are at what part of the process. So yeah, we're happy to help craft reports that make sense for the PIs and lenders. We just have not, to be honest, gotten to that point quite yet.
Great. I mean, I think that last report you spoke of, Jane, would be really helpful to build, if you can, where it shows where, what status all these cases are in without having to filter through every piece of information with some dates attached to it. If it's possible, I don't, again, sorry if I'm saying something that sounds silly, because it'd be great for like billing, because we have to fill out some invoicing form, remember? And also internally, so you can sort of see, oh, look, as a supervisor, you've got 20 of these cases pending, what's going on? And be able to reach out to the lender or whatever, and if you have the dates and so forth, so we can see if we're keeping to that timeline that we spoke to.
Yeah, absolutely. We're completely on board.
Great, thank you.
Does anyone else have any questions?
No, we're good here.
I'm good.
PHMC?
Yeah, we're good.
Okay, well, thank you all for your time. Again, for folks who haven't had the chance to really play around with the application yet, we will give you guys the opportunity to attend another one of these where we don't kind of go through the whole entire process, but more respond to any questions or comments that you may have once you started to use the application. But we really appreciate your time, and we hope that the kind of data collection that we put together will be useful. I have high hopes.
Oh, Jane, I do have one more thing.
Yeah.
Can you resend me an email with my login information for the QuickBase, please?
Yeah, Nick will do that.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
All right. Well, thank you, everyone. Have a great weekend.